by looking at the ethnic claims people make over the land of Palestine. Joseph was of the opinion that the Jewish people have a claim over the land of Palestine because they've had an existence in this land for thousands of years, which everyone accepts. Everyone agrees to that claim. That claim, as far as it goes to highlight the point that the Jewish people have been there for a very long time. My contention was in response that that claim does not justify the current atrocities that are taking place on that land. Okay, the atrocities
against the Jewish people, you were saying.
No, against the Palestinians and the Jewish people. I agree. There are Jewish innocent victims of terrorism, and there are Palestinian victims of terrorism. There are children, women, men, elderly dying on daily basis in Palestine, being bombed, being shot, being completely decimated. Okay, I'm saying none of these claims that go back thousands of years justify the current occupation, the current brutal occupation of the land of Palestine. It cannot be justified. Yeah, wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. No problem.
For the camera.
No, wa alaikum
You
salam.
can't say wa alaikum salam because he thinks I might have wished death be upon him. Salam alaikum, which I did. I said assalamu alaikum, and he refuses to say wa alaikum salam. But thank you.
Now, I'm going to say wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, Aki. Thank you.
May peace be upon you. I'll say it in the English language so that people don't misunderstand. Okay, I'm saying assalamu alaikum.
Peace be upon you.
No problem. He's still our brother. He's a bit lost. He's our brother. He's a bit lost, but he's our brother. And our purpose here is to spread the love, spread education, spread beautiful ideas so that we can live together in peace. So today we were talking about history. So during this discussion, when we were talking about the claim of the Zionists over the land of Palestine, a lot of points were raised by Joseph, by myself. We talked about history, the presence of the Jewish people in that land, and then the absence after the Roman destruction of the city.
I'm being filmed, I can't, sorry.
The destruction of the city of Jerusalem at the hands of Emperor Hadrian in 132 and renaming of the city, all of that we discussed. Now we're coming to the point where I made a claim that the Jewish people were protected by Muslims and the Muslim civilization for over 1,000 years, right? And Joseph came back and he said, no, I don't agree with that. Actually, that claim is problematic. And then I said, now we are talking. Why?
That's
because this is
get a camera.
Yes. After I said that, get a camera so that we can get this on camera, where a Jew and a Muslim can talk about the treatment of the Jewish people at the hands of the Muslims throughout the history of Muslim civilization. This is a very, very interesting discussion which I want to get into. Because me and Joseph are talking, you can talk later on.
Ask questions.
So Joseph, why do you actually disagree with that claim? My claim is that the Jewish golden age was when the Muslims protected the Jews for over 1,000 years.
Of course you'd say that, you're Muslim. But I'll convert.
But
I'll respond to what you say.
Yes, please.
So one of the things that people that either Muslim apologists propagating Dawah do, they will take a point in history and they'll say it was great at this time, therefore throughout history the Muslims were good to the Jews. And that's simply not true. There were Muslims that oppressed Muslims throughout history, so of course there were Muslims that oppressed Jews throughout history.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. In Morocco, you had a caliphate called the Almohads. And they said to the Jewish people that were living there, either you convert to Islam, which is against Islam, you're going to tell me the Quran says that it doesn't say that, but you either convert to Islam or we kill you. So Jews fled en masse from Morocco. And they went to Egypt, they went to various places, usually under other Muslim caliphates that were more favourable to the Jews. And so, first and foremost, there has never been just a consistent period throughout time for all Muslim caliphates, empires, where the Jews had it good. The second aspect of that is even when times were great for Jews under Muslim Caliphate, it was relative.
Were they ever great?
That's what I'm trying to get to. It was relative.
Okay.
And they were still second-class citizens. They still had a different tax system. They still weren't allowed to achieve certain positions within that Islamic society. They had greater freedoms and opportunities than in Christendom, but that's not necessarily a good thing, because in Christendom, again, some Christian nations were good to the Jews, others were terrible to the Jews. And so it just depended at which point of history and which rulers you're talking. So categorically, you are wrong if you said that Muslims were always good to the Jews. They weren't. Secondly,
Did I
would
make
argue-
that claim?
Okay, so what was
Did
your
I say
claim?
always?
You said that the Jews... Okay, what was your statement?
I said the
Well, you
Muslim
don't talk over
civilization treated the Jews with utmost respect.
And I just gave you examples where they didn't.
Okay, when I made a general claim, which is based upon the general history of the Muslim civilization. Now, if you show me exceptions to that general rule, I will acknowledge the exceptions, but the exceptions do not represent the general behavior of the Muslim civilization, which goes across over 1,000 years.
So let's look
okay,
them up.
so let's look at your examples you gave. Wait.
Okay, sorry.
You raised some very interesting examples, and this is why I believe someone as intelligent as you
All the cameras.
ought
They're
to
really good.
better, because you are a well-read Jewish gentleman, and I can see you are.
Give it to the Jews.
I can see you are religiously observant. The mics are growing.
He's got 3 mics, I've got none. Okay.
You take that one. You take that one. There you
All
go.
of you, don't worry.
Okay, so the point I want to pick on is what al-Muwahidun in the Arabic language, or al-Mohads in the English language, did to the Jewish people. Before I get to that example, my contention is, why would you use, for example, ISIS as a representative example for Islam? Okay, only two kind of people do that to Muslims today, right? One, who are completely ignorant of the history of Muslim civilization. Two, who hate Islam, who completely hate Islam and want to deliberately tarnish the name of Islam and Muslims. There is no third option in my mind. So I will assume the better, I'll assume the best thing for you, that you are ignorant about the history of Muslim civilization. I won't assume the latter for you, right? I don't think you are a Islam or Muslim hater. I don't think so.
No, I'm not.
I hope you're not.
First
Okay.
and foremost, I'm not a Muslim hater. I have huge respect
Great.
for Islam.
So it's
I have-
confirmed.
but I
Yeah.
would like to extend that. I say Muslims as my cousin.
Good.
And I believe that we should work towards building a lasting peace.
I agree.
Believe, with peace, I believe is truth and reconciliation.
Okay.
I believe for us to make peace, neither you nor I should deny the reality of what's happened.
Absolutely.
And I will say there have been Muslim leaders who've done incredible acts of kindness for the Jewish people. However,
Now we're talking.
Even amongst the most, those that are considered the great.
So let me give some
let's go to
examples.
Omar. Let's
No.
go to Omar.
I want to talk about al-Mohads, because you made a point,
Okay,
and
let's
it's only fair that I respond to that point. So al-Muwahidun were an extremist group that came to power in Morocco in the 12th century, and Muslims suffered at their hands before anyone else did. And in fact, when they did persecute Muslims, Christians, as well as Jews, who protected the Jews, who gave refuge to the Jews? Muslims elsewhere. Let me give you an example, a specific example. Who is known as the second Moses in Jewish history?
Maimonides.
Maimonides faced the Almohads firsthand. Maimonides was alive, born in Cordoba, raised in Cordoba, wrote in the Arabic language. His famous book, A Guide for the Perplexed, was written in the Arabic language in Hebrew characters. He was a scholar of Judaism who is known as the second Moses in Jewish history. He was so important that he was given this title, and he wrote Jewish commentaries on the Torah, and he flourished in a Muslim society. Now Almohads came on the scene and they forced him to accept Islam, which we wholeheartedly condemn. Muslims were condemning that. How do we know that? Maimonides, having pretended to accept Islam, moved to Egypt. Now when he went to Egypt, he went back to Judaism, and then there the judges put him on trial for apostatizing from Islam. What happened? He goes to court, and who testifies? Who testifies in his favor? A Jewish scholar from Spain who was being persecuted by Al-Muhads, Al-Muwahidun, who were an extremist group which other Muslims were condemning at that time, like we do today with ISIS, right? He moved to Egypt. There, Muslims came to rescue him, and they said his conversion was forced. Therefore, it was not a conversion. That rule does not apply on him, and he was left alone. And he became what? He became a physician directly to the brother of the Sultan. The Sultan's brother was Malik al-Afdal, the brother of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, Saladin. Okay, so he was protected by the Muslims against a persecution by the Muslims. Okay, so this is very clear. This is the example you gave didn't actually help your case. Second example, very quickly, you made was that when the Jews did have good times with the Muslims, that was relative. Okay, it depends. They were still second-class citizens. I want to correct you there. I want to assume the best about you again, that you are completely ignorant of what happened in Spain.
We do one at a time? Can I
no, because you raised 2 points, so let me quickly respond to it, then you can come back to it, okay? I will respond to Joseph by giving him a number of examples. This claim, again, is completely misplaced, doesn't acknowledge history of Islam and Muslims with the Jewish people. There were Jewish prime ministers in Spain. Is everyone listening to me? Hello? Yes? There were Jewish prime ministers in Spain. How do you make someone who is a second-class citizen a prime minister? Is the question. And who am I talking about? Hasdai ibn Shaprut. He was the prime minister to the most powerful Muslim monarch in the history of Western Europe. Abdurrahman III in the 10th century, Hasdai ibn Shaprut was so powerful that he was writing letters to the ancestors of Joseph who were in Khazaria. Joseph is an Ashkenazi Jew. Okay, his ancestors come from Khazaria. Okay,
that's not true. We know that's completely categorically false.
But there are, okay, this is something we can come back. That's not anti-Semitism, by the way. That's,
it is. It's
I mean,
the Jewish people.
You mean Ashkenazis?
Ashkenazi Jews are from the Middle East. I've got Middle Eastern DNA. I can show you.
But how is that anti-Semitism?
To say that because you're denying the Jewish agency of the Jews. It's a myth that's propagated predominantly by anti-Semites. The Ashkenazi Jews are not real Jews at all. They're descending from Khazars.
If it is an academic opinion, you can disagree with it. You can say it's rubbish. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying the opinion is true or not. We can talk about it another time, but I'm just presenting the opinion. It may well be very unpleasant, but to call it anti-Semitism, I don't agree with that. But anyway, so Hasdai ibn Shaprut was writing letters to the king of Khazaria. This was a group of people in, near Georgia, current-day Georgia, who had come to Judaism, who had embraced Judaism, and the entire state became Jewish after the king himself. The king had accepted Judaism or embraced Judaism. His name was King Joseph. So Hasdai ibn Shaprut was writing letters to him. He was writing letters to the Jewish people of Baghdad, whether they need anything from him. He's in a powerful position. Likewise, there was another prime minister called Samuel Hanagit. Samuel Hanagit was the prime minister in Grenada, which was also a Muslim state. And I can give you a list of Jewish scholars, dignitaries, ministers, poets, philosophers, theologians who were flourishing under the rule of Islam in Spain, in North Africa, in Ayyubid Middle East, and as far as Mughal India. So what are we talking about here? So the Jewish condition was very much pleasant, and if you come back with more claims, then I will respond to them accordingly. Go ahead.
So you touched on, look at this. This is how it works. You get your soundbite, then the camera disappears.
What? Okay,
there's still two.
His mic is still with me. I don't know where he's going. Maybe he's changing his position.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few things, and the first one I wanted to talk to is perfect. You mentioned Maimonides, Harambam, or the mic's going. We've lost the crowd. Sorry, YouTube.
No, there are two cameras here. There's still two cameras here. So don't be disappointed.
So you mentioned that after fleeing the Almohads, Maimonides went to Egypt. He lived in Fustat, which I think is near Cairo today, and now he lived there And there's a myth that's propagated by many, many Muslims that he had a great existence. He loved living there. It was good for him.
Why is that a myth?
Because I'm going to read you his own words that he wrote there while he was living there.
Okay.
So this is from something, people can Google it, called Igeret Teman, which is the epistle to
The Yemeni Jews.
To the Yemeni Jews.
Okay.
So
It is highly doubted, by the way.
No, it's not.
Actually, the content of the letter is myth. It is not confirmed whether this letter can be traced back to Maimonides. We will discuss that. We'll come back to that. So before you use a source against me, please ensure that the source is actually authentic. What we do know.
Okay, what were your sources for Hastei Shaprut? What was your sources for Shmuel HaNagid? What was your sources for all of them?
Jewish writings as well as Muslim writings.
No.
Jewish as well as Muslim writings.
Which Jewish writings?
With Jewish writings?
No, which ones?
I have read a book titled The History of the Sephardic and Mizrahi Jewry. The author's name is Zion Zohar, Jewish author, who has written the history of the Sephardic and Mizrahi Jewry. The name of the book is The History of the Sephardic and Mizrahi Jewry. Zion Zohar is the author. Then Bernard Lewis, also a Jewish historian, right? So any sources I will use, mainly they are Jewish sources,
So
Jewish historians.
This is the interesting part. I'm actually bringing something which Jews universally accept as being authentic. You've read 2 books by contemporary
No,
scholars.
2. Okay, you want more names? You want a list?
All I'm trying to do
Okay, so just because I mentioned 2 doesn't mean I don't.
There are very few religious Jews that doubt the authenticity of the Agera. You're saying otherwise, and that's fine because you've read a book, and that's fine. Or read a couple of books, or a few books. But I'm going to read what Maimonides actually says in his words.
Okay.
Now you can cast doubt on that, just like
We don't know. Maimonides actually said that. We don't know. When there's a doubt, what's the point of reading something? If I say Prophet Muhammad said X, Y, and Z, and if we cannot prove whether he said it or not,
But
what's
the
the
only
point?
person who's casting doubt is you. Who says that this is false?
Okay, can you give us the source as to?
I just gave you Igeret Taman. It's accepted universally as being written by Maimonides.
Who
You're saying it isn't,
accepted?
so I'm saying, what's your evidence that it isn't? Who says it isn't?
Scholars.
Which scholars?
Historians.
Which historians?
Okay, this is something I will.
Okay, you don't know, so you can come back.
No.
In the YouTube comments, you can say where.
I will come back to you.
Yeah.
On this because
Okay.
this
So
discussion.
Until then,
Until then,
I'm going to.
I didn't come prepared for this discussion.
Yeah,
If you want,
neither did I.
there are references I have. Okay, if you raise a specific question, we can come back to it.
So
no problem. Yeah.
One thing I want to point out,
Yeah.
you spoke for 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I didn't say a word.
Okay, so
I spoke.
before
the minute I spoke, you started challenging, saying that's not real, that's not real.
Oh no, okay, no problem. Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
what I'm going
That's
to read
fair.
is what Maimonides actually says in his words. Now, this is half well into it, but effectively what's happening, there was Jews in Yemen who were considering converting to Islam, and he wrote a letter to the leader of that community, and this is effectively what he wrote. This is well into it. Remember, my co-religionists, that on account of the vast number of our sins, God has hurled us into the midst of this people, the Arabs, who have persecuted us severely. So Maimonides, who is your example of someone who...
Carry on reading. Yeah, please. I want you to read this now. This is actually helping me, by the way. We'll see how.
And passed beautiful and discriminatory legislation against us, as Scripture has forewarned us. Our enemies themselves shall judge us. Never did a nation molest, degrade, debase, and hate us as much as they. Therefore, when David of blessed memory, inspired by the Holy Spirit, envisaged the future tribulations of Israel, he bewailed and lamented their lot only in the kingdom of Ishmael, and prayed in their behalf. And on it goes. But effectively,
No. Continue. I want you to continue reading a bit more. A few more lines. Continue.
What do you expect it to say?
Continue. Yeah, why are you reading it before you... keep reading.
Tribulations of Israel.
No. Start from where you stopped.
That's what I'm just getting to. Bewailed and lamented their lot in the kingdom of Ishmael, and prayed in their behalf for their deliverance, as is implied in the verse. Woe me, that I sojourn with Meshech, that I dwell beside the tents of Kedar. Note the distinction between Kedar and the children of Ishmael. For the...
Carry on. It's actually helping me. Carry on. This is going to... carry on. Please do.
Yep.
You brought this up, I didn't bring it up.
For the Meshuggah and is of the lineage and children of Kedar, as they readily admit.
Yes.
Daniel alludes only to our humiliation and degradation, like dust in the threshing suffered at the hands of the Arabs. May they speedily be vanquished, when he says, and some of the host of the stars it cast down to the ground and trampled upon them. Although we dishonored by them beyond human endurance and had to put up with their fabrications, yet we behaved like him, who is depicted by sorry, I'm not a good reader, by the inspired writer. But I am as a deaf man, I hear not, and I am as dumb man that I am as a dumb man that openeth his mouth. Similarly, our sages instructed us to bear the provocations and preposterousness of Ishmael in silence. So on and on and on it goes. I don't want to bore the audience by reading all of it. But the basic, no, you spoke, I speak. The basic premise, after he made me read all that really badly, I apologise, but the basic premise is, Adnan said that the Almohads were bad. I accept that. Maimonides is my proof that the Muslims treat the Jews well. Because Maimonides, when he fled the Almohads, he had a Muslim testify for him in court, which is true. And he achieved great position of prominence in Islamic society, which is true. He was the physician even to Salahuddin, I believe, by the end of his career. But even Maimonides, someone who we look at as an example of somebody who existing at a high level in Islamic society, when he's writing to his own people, he's honest. And he says that the Muslims have inflicted persecution upon us. We have suffered greatly. His words are, no nation has persecuted us more than this nation.
Okay.
So this is clearly, and even you put forward the argument that it's been fake. The fact that this has been universally accepted by Jews as being part of the narrative suggests there must be a remnant of truth in there, that there was persecution of Jews in Muslim society. Now, let's get on to what is that persecution.
Okay.
You made 2 points.
Yeah.
I made 2 points and you made 2 points in response. Now you said, and maybe this is why we can make it a little more engaging, because the big long speeches don't really help any of us engage the viewers.
I agree.
So I'm going to say, I can give categoric examples of where I'm persecuted against in a caliphate that's run according to Sharia, according to the Sunnah of Muhammad. And my best example, my easiest example, zakat. Zakat is fixed. Yeah, there is a fixed amount of money that the Muslims pay. Jizya is not fixed. Jizya is dependent upon whatever the caliph decides that the Jew is going to pay, or the person of the book is going to pay. Now, under some caliphates, that was a reasonable amount. And it does say that the poor don't have to pay the jizya. But if they're not poor, then it's down to the caliph to determine what the Jews pay, what the Christians pay. And that is separate from what the Muslims pay. And it can be a lot more, and it can be less. It really depends on the caliphate. And so when you segregate a society and you say Muslims pay this tax and non-Muslims pay another tax, that ultimately is an example of discrimination that has been abused throughout history. Okay, I'm going to make it more quick fire.
Great points. Now coming back to the letter of Maimonides, first of all we need to show whether the letter is actually authentic. Even if it is authentic, let's assume for the sake of the argument, Maimonides actually wrote that letter. There is no problem in it. I'll tell you why. Maimonides has been severely persecuted by a Muslim group called Al-Muhads, Al-Muwahidun, right? If a person who was tortured or persecuted by ISIS today and was to write a letter about Muslims, I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him for assuming that I am being persecuted by Muslims, because these people have the appearance of Muslims, unfortunately, right? Now Maimonides, the question is, when he wrote this letter, where was he writing this letter from? Egypt. Okay. Now what period of his Egyptian existence was this? Was this the early period when he had recently come from Spain, having been persecuted and put through all that? Or was it actually after he had become the physician to the Sultan himself? Okay, if Maimonides is writing this letter after he's a physician to the Sultan, the doctors to the Sultan, then there are two options here. Either he is lying about his condition, because how can you be the physician to the Sultan the doctor to the Sultan, to the king himself, and say, our condition is very bad. And it is very possible that he was lying. Why? Because why is he writing this letter? And who is he writing this letter to? According to what Joseph read, this letter was being written to a Jewish group of people in Yemen who were considering accepting Islam, who were contemplating becoming Muslims. And his job as Rambam, or the second Moses, or the shepherd of the flock, if you like, his job was to sway them, to put them off, to push them away from Islam. And to say all those things, it does exactly that. These people are barbarians, they're persecutors, we're not happy with them, don't accept Islam therefore. So all these things put together, one can easily contextualize the letter. But looking at the bigger picture, now it is very clear that Joseph accepted that Maimonides definitely had a high position in Muslim societies. If the Jews were persecuted as he claimed earlier, why would a Jew be a physician to the Sultan? Why would a Jewish person be given that position? And such a sensitive position. Who is a physician? Someone who's checking your pulse, someone who's prescribing medicine for you, even possibly giving you medicine. He can easily poison the Sultan and kill him. Why would the Sultan trust a Jewish man, and not only any ordinary Jewish man, a rabbi of that repute, a rabbi of that status, someone who is known as the second Moses among the Jews, later on actually. So let's not be anachronistic about history. So it is very clear that he had a high position. Now it doesn't stop there. We can look at other Jewish testimonies from Spain. No, very quickly, yeah, let me finish this. Yeah, very quickly, yeah. There was a Jewish rabbi called Bahya bin Pakuda. Have you heard of him? Yes? Yeah. You know Bahya, yeah? Bahya bin Pakuda, writing in Cordoba, 1080s. He writes that our living condition is not the same as the Muslims, it is better than theirs. We are more prosperous than the Muslims are under the rule of the Arabs. There you go, that's one testimony. Let's fast forward. Yeah, let's fast forward. Okay, we have, for example, in the 9th century, okay, there is an anonymous Jewish source, a commentary on the Torah, okay, it's called Petrus Ephron. Petrus Ephron, Karen Armstrong, she refers to this book in her History of Jerusalem, and she states that this anonymous author, Jewish author, wrote about the conditions of the Jewish people in Jerusalem in the 9th century, during the Abbasid period. He states that we have been honored by the Ishmaelites, that we worship together the same God in this holy place. In other words, he was praising the condition of the Jewish people under Islamic domain. Then we have other testimonies from, I'm giving you different dynasties very quickly because time is running out and Joseph needs to talk about this, yeah? And I have written an article on this, by the way. This is why I know these sources, yeah? Then we move forward to the Ottoman period when Jerusalem was governed by the Ottomans. To be very precise, during the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, who governed from 1520 to 1566, if I'm not mistaken. Right? He governed 46 years. During his reign, the Jewish people flourished in Jerusalem. How do we know this? A scholar named Amnon Cohen. Amnon Cohen, who published his book in 1994, and the book is titled A World from Within. The court records from the Islamic Court of Jerusalem. In these two volumes, he discusses the history of the Jewish cases. Are you listening, everyone? Jewish cases filed within the Islamic Court of Jerusalem. So he studied cases from the year 1500 to 1570. 70 years of cases he studied. He came up with 1,000 Jewish cases filed in the Sharia court, filed by the Jewish people voluntarily. And Amnon Cohen, being a Jewish scholar from Israel, he wanted to know why the Jews were doing that. Why were they going to the Sharia court, even though they had their Beth Dins, they had their own Jewish courts in Jerusalem. But he states, this is a Jewish Israeli scholar, in 1994, he states, based upon his study, this was because the Jews expected justice to come quicker from the Sharia court than their own courts. And cases vary from for example, from a case about nafaka, what we call, provisions. If a wife has been divorced, then she needs provisions from the husband. And there are other domestic cases being discussed in these courts. So his conclusion is that the Jews of Jerusalem in the 16th century were more prosperous than the Muslims were.
So perfect.
Okay,
Okay,
wait. Of course, Joseph.
You
One second.
don't do quick
Yeah,
fire. You
wait.
really don't do quick fire.
I'm finishing because this topic is so important. And
Yeah, but
I'm coming back to zakat issue.
Can we
Okay,
stop
so
and then do zakat?
these
'Cause-
examples from different dynasties in different periods in different places show you what general pattern of Muslim behavior was kind, generous, and harmonious towards the Jews, right? The Jewish people flourished in different ways. I can give you
Perfect.
examples.
Can I give
Oh,
you a lot of
Joseph,
examples? Can, like-
please. I was very patient listening to you. Be patient with me as well. I know some of this information is difficult to fathom.
It's wrong.
But I'm giving references. Wrong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And most references I gave are from Jewish sources, by the way. Even Bernard Lewis, someone like Bernard Lewis, a staunch Zionist who advised the US government to attack Iraq in 2003, even him in his book Jews of Islam acknowledges that the Muslims treated the Jews with generosity in comparison to what was happening to them in Christian Europe. Okay, so and over 1,000 years, Bernard Lewis states, for over 1,000 years, Jews survived extinction due to Muslim protection for over 1,000 years. And he also states 90% of the Jewish population of the world survived destruction under the protection of Islam and Muslims. Bernard Lewis, again, my references are very clear. Go and check and come back to me if I'm lying. Okay. Now, next point, zakat.
Can we come back to zakat?
No. You raised it. Please be patient with me. I'm finishing very soon and you can come back. I will listen to you patiently. No, you can't come in because it's me and Joseph. Okay. So, zakat issue. Now, Joseph made a claim that zakat is fixed and jizya is not fixed. Actually, that's not true as well, because in our earliest sources, we are told, firstly, the primary rule to deal with the non-Muslims. What is the primary rule? In Bukhari, we have a statement from the second Caliph of Islam, Umar bin Khattab. Umar was the second Caliph of Islam. And what did the Prophet say about him? Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdin min ba'di. Upon you is my way and the way of my rightly guided caliphs. Who were they? Umar is one of them, so we have to follow him. Umar, upon his deathbed, when his stomach was split open, dying man, he advised for his successor. He stated, whoever succeeds me, beware of the rights of the non-Muslims. Do not overburden them. Do not put a burden upon them more than they can bear. Umar, the second Caliph of Islam, the words of a dying man, right? These words were directly relevant to the Jewish people, okay? Because who was he talking about? He was talking about the Jews and the Christians, okay? So what is jizya? Jizya is 1 gold coin per year. It is clearly stated in Futul Buldan, Imam Buladhuri's book, Futul Buldan, The Conquest of Lands. In that book, there are documents that clearly state that the jizya is 1 gold coin every year, which is 4 grams of gold, in current value 200 pounds a year. So if there is a millionaire Jewish merchant who has £1 million in his bank account, in theory, theoretically, according to the Islamic sources, he has to pay 200 pounds every year. If a Muslim has £1 million in his bank account, he must pay 2.5%, which is 25,000 pounds. Where is justice in that? I, as a Muslim, can stand up here and say, you know what? Islam is actually not just to the Muslim people. Islam is more just to the Jewish people. The Jewish merchant has to pay 200 pounds every year, even though he may have £1 million in his bank account. But me, I have to give 25,000 pounds over or for £1 million. Now, this is theoretically the earliest Islamic sources. What happened later on, no doubt, sources are abused, they were misused. Even today, groups like ISIS and other extremist entities are using sources to abuse. The Jewish people are doing it. The state of Israel is abusing, misusing the Jewish sources. So we have extremists, we have unpleasant characters, we have people who abuse our sources throughout our history. Jews did it, Muslims did it, Christians did it. So the good thing about us, me and Joseph, is that we are brothers in that thought. Why? Because he also believes that there are extremist Jews who do extreme things and abuse the sources. I also believe that there are Muslims who are extremist Muslims who abuse the sources. Now, over to you. Sorry, do apologize for long.
That was supposed to be a quick fire round.
But you're raising points, they need to be responded.
It's fine.
Your turn to respond, and then
I want to point out is what just happened then. So, we went to the Almohads, and we agreed on the Almohads. They're not good Muslims. You brought a proof which was Maimonides. And we then established that actually your understanding of Maimonides maybe isn't the Jewish understanding of Maimonides. And the Jewish understanding of Maimonides is that he was persecuted under Islam. You then went to some a lot of material I haven't heard of. So you mentioned Petrus Ephron or something. Never heard of it in my life. So we're now talking very fringe sources which most Jews are not familiar with. So I will go away and research. Bernard Lewis he's a historian. He's got nothing to do with the actual. I'm talking about
Jewish historian.
I'm talking about the source material. And then you mentioned, and you went to the 16th century Ottomans in Israel. Now I would encourage anybody to type into Google 1517 massacre of Jews in Hebron. The Jews were massacred by Ottomans in Hebron, in Israel. And so again, at a time when you've given us Jews having a good straight to the massacre. At a time when Jews were supposed to not being persecuted, there's a clear evidence of not just persecution, but a massacre taking place in the very land you said it was supposed to be amazing. Now, you've said a lot of truth. There were Jews that did achieve great positions, including Maimonides, in Islamic society. But achieving a high position in some Islamic societies does not mean that Jews have been treated well throughout Islamic history. The Jewish understanding, if you speak to any of the Jews from the Middle East, almost all of them will universally tell you that they suffered in modern history and in ancient history. And so I believe Jews and Muslims can and will coexist. I think we have more in common than that divides us, and I think we do have a rich history of coexistence. But I think there needs to be a recognition from many Muslims that history isn't as they see it through these rose-tinted glasses, but their ancestors have inflicted pain upon my ancestors. And you can go right the way back to Muhammad. You can go back to the Battle of the Trenches. You can go back to the beheading of Jews. You can go, but from the very, very beginning, there has been persecution. Now you can justify that and say they were treacherous, they betrayed Muhammad, therefore, but to this day...
You're doing it for me.
But to this day, because of a battle that took place hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, I, a Jew, am not allowed to step foot in Mecca and Medina. I am not allowed to live in Arabia. Umar, who's quoted often as being one of the best caliphs for the Jewish people, Umar kicked the Jews out of Arabia. It was Umar that pushed them out, and he actually sent them to Hebron in Israel, and he sent others to, I forgot the name, I'm terrible with Middle Eastern geography, something like, I'm not going to even connect. People can look up the other place.
You're making a lot of points, and it's going to take me a long time to respond to all of them. So if you don't want a long response, keep it short, and I'll keep it short.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're throwing Omar, you're throwing Jews in. All
I'm doing is saying, and it's a very simple statement, that anybody who believes that the Jewish existence under Islam was consistently good is consistently stupid. There has been good times and bad times. There have been good Muslims and bad Muslims, good Jews and bad Jews. Now to bring it back to the jizya, you said no. You didn't let me do this.
No problem. Continue, carry on. Then, but my response is going to be.
But I'm trying to keep mine as brief as possible, just for the sake of the engagement of the audience.
Okay. Go on long, extensively. Talk about all the things I mentioned, all the sources I gave. What's your response to those sources?
I'm going to go to. So to be honest, I would have to go away and read them. So I know the epistle, I know Maimonides well.
So if what I'm saying is true, you're going to
come back next week.
You're going to come back and confirm everything I said. Okay, good.
Absolutely. But like you mentioned one source, I don't think any Jew I know has heard of, Petrus Ephron. Is that what you call it?
I got the source from Karen Armstrong.
She's not Jewish though, so she's
so,
a nun.
So,
she's a nun.
No, so
yeah.
if she's not Jewish, that means she's lying.
No. I'm just saying. I don't know if this is something that Jews recognise.
She actually taught at a rabbinic school, by the way. I don't know if you know this. Karen Armstrong was teaching at a rabbinic school.
I find that hard to believe because they're quite gender segregated rabbinic schools.
Yeah, she was teaching at a rabbinic school.
No, so if you go to a rabbinic school,
and
it's
the
male
book
teachers
is
only, which I find that
the
quite hard
history
to
of Jerusalem. The history of Jerusalem. That's where I got the source Petrus Ephron from, which she quoted in her book. So it is very clear. I mean, every single thing I'm quoting, please do ask me if you want to know the source.
But so Hadith, you mentioned that the jizya is 1 gold coin. That was your words, not mine. So I'm going to read you one of the Hadith, and you can tell me if it's correct or incorrect.
Where is the source?
So the source
is. What website are you reading it from? Firstly, tell me the website.
It's from one of the Hadith websites, sunnah.com or whatever.
No. This is not.
I put together a spreadsheet.
Okay.
But so I'll tell you where it is, and I'll tell you which book it is.
Oh, good.
So Muwatta Malik,
okay.
Zakat, book 17, Hadith 44.
Zakat,
book 17, Hadith 44.
Okay.
So,
by the way, Muwatta is not all authentic.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
But this is what he says. Yahya related to me from Malik, from Nafi, from Aslam, the Mullah of Umar ibn al-Khattab, that Umar ibn al-Khattab imposed a jizya tax of. Is it going to be a gold coin or is it going to be something else?
Okay.
4 dinars on those living where gold was the currency, and 40 dirhams on those living and receive them as guests for 3 days. Now, first and foremost, all I'm doing here is stating that it wasn't 1 gold coin. And if you read, there's various hadith that talk about this. It literally depends where they're living, and they put conditions. So if you're traveling through a land, you're taxed at a different rate as if you live in that land. And so the belief that Jews pay a fixed gold coin is wrong.
Okay.
People of the book, according to Muwatta. I then also want to read why the Jews pay the jizya. What does the Quran say, and how is that explained by the hadith? So the Quran, and forgive me, I'm not an Arab.
My response is going to be very long. Beware of the fact, yeah?
So the
Quran
says Sagirun, yeah? Is that right? Sagirun, have I pronounced it right? And now, could you just give me the literal translation of Sagirun?
Subdued.
So the people of the book will pay the jizya to be?
Subdued.
So, if you're subduing somebody, that's not a positive thing. Imagine if the British government today said that the non-Muslims, they're going to pay 20% tax because the state needs to function, we need to feed the poor, we need to pay for the military.
That would be unfair.
The Muslims, we're going to charge them a separate tax so that they can be subdued. Imagine Theresa May gets up in Parliament and says the Muslims are going to pay a tax so they can be subdued. Now,
are you done?
Nearly.
Okay, nearly.
Anybody that tells you the jizya is a good thing is mistaken. What is a good thing is that me and my brother Adnan, we pay the same tax. Muslim, Jew, we are the same under the eyes of the law. I don't have a tax. We just
pay more.
We just
sorry. Anyway, go on.
Sorry. Lost my chain of thought now. So under the eyes of the law, we should be seen as the same. There shouldn't be a tax to subdue me. There shouldn't be a Jew tax to subdue the Jew. There should be an equal tax. It should be proportional to our income, not our religion.
Okay, very, very good. Joseph, I'll try to make it as quick as possible.
Thank you.
Right? Firstly, coming to the pogroms against the Jewish people, he mentions 1517. I am perfectly willing to accept that it may have happened, although I have to go and check the circumstances around that. I'll give you other examples. I'll help Joseph in his case that there were definitely pogroms and massacres of the Jewish people throughout the vast, period of Muslim history.
And Christian history as well.
One happened in 1066 in Granada, in Spain, right? One happened possibly in 1517, what he's talking about. 2, there might be 5 or 6 or 7 more examples. But if you look at these 5, 6, 7 more examples, which may have some context to them, we don't know the context. Who did it? Why did they do it? They may be extremists, there may be some crazy nutters, because one of the prime ministers, Samuel Harnagid, was actually killed during this pogrom I'm talking about. He was the prime minister and he was killed in 1066 in Granada. So it is very possible that these things happen. But the point I'm making is that the general pattern of Muslim behavior towards the Jewish people was kind, generous, to an extent that where Jewish people themselves are paying tributes to the Muslim treatment. I gave plenty of references earlier where the Jewish people are praising. For example, another example, Salonika. Salonika was an important Jewish center where the Jews flourished under the Ottoman rule. Why did the Jews come to Salonika is the question. Where did they come from?
Can you remember that's my life?
Now, when the Catholic monarchs
Remember to
took
take it off, yeah, when you
the last stronghold from the Muslims in Spain, Granada in 1492, then followed a heavy persecution of the Jews as well as the Muslims. The Inquisition came in, and where did these persecuted Jews go? They found refuge with the Ottomans in Salonika. And the Jewish people paid lavish tributes to the Ottomans for protecting them. Many Jewish people went to Jerusalem. I gave the sources. Amnon Cohen. Read his book, published in 1994. The book is titled A World from Within. Amnon, A-M-N-O-N, Cohen, C-O-H-E-N, 1994. And read his conclusion about the Jewish treatment at the hands of the Ottomans. So the history of Islam and Muslims when it comes to the treatment of the Jewish people is so magnificent, despite all the unpleasant incidents that Joseph is referring to. I hope Joseph is not trying to brush aside all our positive contribution towards the well-being of the Jewish people.
I've consistently said there have been Muslims that have treated Jews very well and Muslims who have treated Jews badly. That's my argument.
I'm claiming the overwhelming evidence of the treatment towards the Jewish people is positive.
So why are there no Muslims, Jews left in Muslim lands now?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Now, why would Joseph or other Jewish researchers, why would they put doubt on Muslim treatment of the Jewish people? Why would they even challenge it, having known that the Jewish people generally flourished under the protection of Islam? To an extent that people like Bernard Lewis, scholars like Bernard Lewis, who was openly hostile to Islam and Muslims, okay, he even wrote the book What Went Wrong with the Arabs, okay? He acknowledged that for over 1,000 years, 10 centuries, the Jewish people flourished under the protection of Islam. 90% of the Jewish population of the world, 90%, survived extinction and destruction because the Muslims protected them. Bernard Lewis, not me, Bernard Lewis, a Jewish Zionist historian who died recently. So why would he say this? This is my claim. My claim is the general treatment towards the Jewish people had been kind. It was amazing. It was beautiful. The Jewish people flourished. They had businesses. They had, they were huge merchants. They were scholars. They were poets. Judah HaLevi, where was he born? Judah HaLevi was a Spanish poet who wrote poetry. The Jewish golden age was in Spain. And who says so? Scholars like Heinrich Kreitz, who was a German historian, Jewish historian, he states that for 3 centuries, from the 10th to the 13th century, this was the Jewish golden age in Al-Andalus in Spain, under the protection of Islam. So all of these things put together, it is clear that Joseph is repeatedly referring to exceptions where Jewish people were killed, there were pogroms, there were some massacres, no doubt. Okay, why they happened, what caused them, is a very good question we can look into. But you cannot look at those examples and say this is exactly what happened, which you have acknowledged clearly. You have acknowledged that there were good periods. My claim is the good period overwhelmingly outweighs the bad period. This is my point. So very quickly, let me move on.
The golden age for
he's carrying on.
The golden age for Judaism wasn't Al-Andalus. Muslims often say that the golden age for Jews was Moses.
You can make that
and then
point.
the Talmudic period.
Okay,
the Talmud is our greatest.
You can make that point when it's your turn.
Okay.
Let me continue with what I'm saying. So coming back to jizya issue.
Yeah.
Joseph very intelligently, okay, did an academic thing which I highly respect. I respect this academic attitude towards our sources. I gave a source, and I claim that there is 1 gold dinar the Jewish people. Do you mind if we move back from the noise? Move this way, please. Bring the camera forward so that I don't have to shout. I don't want to shout. Okay, very good. Thank you. Joseph did the right thing by bringing a source from the Muslim hadith literature where it is stated that they pay 4 dinars. First of all, I am not too sure about the authenticity of that particular report, but let's assume it's authentic. Let's assume it is authentic. It still helps my point. It still helps my point. Firstly, I gave a very powerful source from Bukhari where Umar said, my advice to my successors is do not overburden the non-Muslims. Do not overburden them. This is our general pattern. This is what we follow. This is our ideal. Okay? Now, Joseph said 4 dinars, not 1. How much is 4 dinars? Okay, multiply by, let's say, 200 pounds multiplied by 4. How much is that? 800 pounds? If even then, you know what I pay? You know what I pay in Britain? You know how much my council tax is? Anyone? Anyone? Over £1,000. I'm paying over £1,000 in council tax. Then I'm paying fuel tax. When I put petrol in, 90% is tax. Then I'm paying tax on income tax, VAT, value added tax, tax even for shitting, I'm sorry. Okay, even when you go to the toilet, you sit in the toilet, you have to pay tax for that. And this is like, I'm using this as a this is rhetoric, by the way. This is not literally true. So I'm saying you pay taxes when you live in a state for the well-being of the state. To run the state, you pay taxes. But even if we were to accept what Joseph said, 4 dinars, I would say that's fair. If you have £1 million in your bank account and you're paying 800 pounds every year, right? That's fair. What is a Muslim paying is the question. Is that justice? A Muslim would be paying 2.5% of his wealth, whether it's £1 million or whether it's 100 million pounds. This is why people say if the Saudis alone were to pay 2.5% of their wealth, there would be no poverty on the planet. Unfortunately, it's not happening. There would be no poverty. This is how beautiful Islam is. So zakat is a beautiful thing. It is more than what the Jews and the Christians have to pay. This is very, very clear in Muslim sources, and you're confirming that. So these are my responses to your point. Go ahead. Oh, Banu Qurayza he mentioned. Oh, Banu Qurayza. What happened to Banu Qurayza? Again, these are some examples in our history. Banu Qurayza was a sub-tribe which consisted of 600 men, okay, and women and children. But there were other Jewish tribes that were in Medina, and Joseph confirmed that amazingly. How do we know that? Joseph said that Umar relocated the Jewish people where? Where? Hebron. Hebron, right? So my question is, if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was after Jewish blood, he was bloodthirsty, he wanted the Jewish people to be extinct, where did these Jewish tribes come from for Umar to relocate? The point I'm making is the Jewish tribes were there. Even after Prophet Muhammad had died, he was the sole ruler of Arabia. If he pursued this anti-Jewish policy, the Jewish people were vulnerable. They were very, very weak. Muslims had become an empire. Muslims were the most powerful political entity for the next 1,000 years. And the Jewish people survived because of the Muslim policy towards them. The Jewish people were a minority, an extreme minority. Okay, when I say extreme minority, I mean in terms of numbers, not an extremist minority, okay? Okay, in terms of numbers. The Muslims, they just had to blow, and the Jewish population would have been over. It would have been, Muslims protected the Jewish people as their brothers, as their cousins, right? And this is why the Jewish people survive today. Okay. This is why they're still there, because of the Muslim protection. Again, to emphasize, Bernard Lewis made this claim. You need to go and kick his grave now.
So I'm going to have to hurry because my wife's texting me and telling me I need to get home and eat my dinner. But the main point I'd like to make is to come first and foremost back to the main point that you didn't address. And it's very, very good to get into these debates where we bring various different examples. But my fundamental point I'm making is the reason. So the reason that a Muslim pays the zakat is to purify himself.
Purifies wealth, not himself.
So I'll read the. You can tell me what this means.
Zakat is the purification of the wealth.
The wealth. Okay,
Yeah,
so pure.
yeah.
Which is this is because the zakat, and I'm reading from again Muwatta Malik. This is because the zakat is imposed on the Muslims to purify them. So you're saying their wealth. The hadith
I will
says
have to
them.
look the Arabic.
Yeah.
Because zakat, we know as Muslims, is for the purification of the wealth.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Which
I-
means
I'm-
the
I'm not-
purification, which means the purification of the self as well.
I accept that if a Muslim were to read Jewish sources, not speaking the language, relying on translations, and using their own cognitive abilities to work out what it means, they may arrive at the wrong conclusion. So I may be doing that. But all I'm doing is reading what it says.
Okay.
So let me go back to where this is because the zakat is imposed on the Muslims to purify them and to be given back to their poor, the Muslim poor. Whereas jizya is imposed on the people of the book to humiliate, or you say subdue them. Now, any tax system.
Oh, I didn't. I
that's-
forgot to. I actually forgot to comment on that. Do you
Okay,
mind
so-
if I quickly comment? Okay. So the issue of jizya, when Joseph was talking about being subdued. Now, Joseph actually is referring to chapter 9, verse 29 of the Quran. That's a very interesting verse. When we go to the tafsir, the commentaries written by Muslim scholars, what is the context of that particular verse? Where the verse states that you fight those who do not believe in God and those people of the book. Now, this verse actually was revealed in the final year of the Prophet's life, okay, when he was directly being threatened by the Romans. The evidence is clear in tafsir. Okay, Ibn Kathir alludes to it, and there are other tafsir that make it very clear that this incident, the incident of the Romans planning to attack the Muslims was there, and this verse was revealed in response to fight the Romans. In other words, defend yourselves, don't let them come and subdue you, rather you subdue them and charge them jizya. This is the point.
You're saying free Palestine. Are you giving it away? Anyway. So, to come back to my point.
You're not giving it away anytime soon, by the looks of it.
So, jizya being imposed to subdue, despite the explanation, it is given as there is a very different reason given for jizya than for zakat. So we're not talking to begin with an equal system. So an equal system is
I
where
agree.
we're all equal under the law.
It's not equal. Yes.
This is my fundamental point.
Muslims are discriminated.
In any Islamic
Muslims
society,
have to pay more.
No,
That's not equal. It's actually not equal.
There is no fixed jizya. There is no fixed jizya, and I can give you countless examples. Not on me today. I'll have to bring sources.
It is fixed. I believe it's fixed.
Of Jews that had to pay for hire. Now you can say they paid for hire because, what do you call it? Because
Can you give me an example of when Jews paid higher?
So I'll have to come back next week and do it. There's a book there's a book called Islamic Imperialism by a writer called Ephraim Karsh. He goes to great lengths. I can't remember the source, but he gives an example of where when Cairo is captured in the first Islamic conquest that conquered Cairo. You can tell me who that would be, Rashidun?
Yes,
Yeah.
just carry on. Amr bin As captured Cairo. It
And he
wasn't
writes
called
back-
Cairo at the time.
And he writes back and he says there's 10,000 poll tax or jizya paying Jews living here with great villas and great wealth, and he's talking about basically taking the land so they can tax.
Have
the
you
Jewish
have you
people.
read a book on the Arab conquest of Egypt?
No.
Okay, go and read that book, and you will find plenty of references in there where the Christians as well as the Jews actually appreciated the Arab takeover of Egypt.
So one of the
this
things,
is something,
so
and it's again
I
written
mean
by.
this with the greatest respect. One of the things I always am suspicious of is books coming predominantly from Muslim sources.
But
saying
this
how-
is not a Muslim book.
Okay.
I just
Who
mentioned
is it- who is it written
it
by?
is written by Alfred J. Butler.
Okay.
Alfred J. Butler.
Okay, no, then that's fine.
The
I'll read it.
Arab conquest of Egypt. Please go and
I'll
read
read
it.
it.
And he rebuts a lot of these accusations and lies against Arab conquest. You will be fascinated. You'll be blown away. Alfred J. Butler.
So one of what's been consistent in Adnan's argument is that when the Muslim armies invaded, the Jewish people welcomed them.
Yes.
And there are certainly cases like Toledo and Granada where that was the case.
No, even when Tariq bin Ziyad entered,
They
Zion
the gates,
Zohar, a Jewish historian, in his book, states that when the Muslims landed at Gibraltar, the Jews of Spain welcomed them
So
as liberators.
this is what my argument is. It's exactly what
It's a Jewish historian said this.
I'm saying there are definitely examples of that happening. But I'm saying what tends to happen is when Muslims look back on history, they assume it was always like that.
Oh, and we never claimed that.
Okay.
Did anyone claim that? No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So then we're really
I'm saying the overwhelming period of coexistence and peaceful harmony and flourishing of the Jewish people and their prosperity is overwhelming.
But
the evidence is overwhelming.
Except for all the massacres we went through.
Yeah, there were exceptions, no doubt. We
But-
already acknowledged, but in a
But-
thousand
and
years,
the main,
in a thousand
the main
years,
point,
Yeah.
it's my turn. The main point I want to make is if life was so great under Islam, yeah, and life was so good living under Islam and under the Caliphate or under Muslim rule,
was it not?
it was good at times and bad at times. This is what I'm
For
saying.
all the examples I gave, do you think?
So-
that-
so can I
what
just- can I
impression-
just make my point?
Yeah.
The minute that Jews could escape Islamic lands, they fled. There were 1 million Jews living in Muslim countries around 80 years ago. There was 1 million Jews living there. In Arab lands, I believe there were 850,000 Jews. Today, there's less than 3,000, and they're predominantly in Morocco. The synagogue round the corner from me has more Jews than the entire Arab world. Let that sink in. The synagogue, one synagogue. Now, let's say, so we have to ask the question, why? Can I
Joseph is
just finish?
absolutely right.
Can I
I'm
just-
confirming that. Yes,
So,
that's true.
why did the Jews leave the Arab world? If life was so good under Islam, why did the Jews flee? Now, some people say, well, they were fleeing for a better life and more money, but we can look at other impoverished parts of Europe where Jews live, impoverished parts of South America where Jews live, where Jews don't live at a high socioeconomic bracket, yet they still don't flee. The Holocaust, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust in Europe, yet there are more Jews left in Europe, and not the rich nations, places like Ukraine. There are more Jews living there than there are in all of the Arab world. So you have to ask yourself the question, if Muslims don't persecute Jews or didn't persecute Jews, and Islam fundamentally treats Jews well, why did the Jews flee at
Very
the
good,
first opportunity?
very good question. $1 million question, and my response will be $2 million response. Okay, the question is, if Islam was so good to Jews, and if the Muslims flourished, and Joseph still uses the word "if" despite all the evidence I presented, historic evidence, which cannot be denied and has not been denied by most Jewish historians. Amazingly, Joseph still puts a big if on that. No problem. You can go and check all the sources
I
I've
give
given.
you many of the historians
no
that say the
problem.
opposite.
No, amazingly, it is the Jewish historians who are insisting on the golden age of the house of Israel under Muslim rule. Now, my question is, Joseph, if your question is valid, and if it is an intelligent question, where were the Jews for 1,000 years, from the year 1000 to 1900?
Very simple answer.
Yes.
So
Where were they? Where was the 90% of the
Date
Jewish
range?
population?
What's the date range? Just give me the dates again.
Let's say 900 to 1900, 1,000 years.
So 900 to 1900.
1900.
So I would it's a change because the majority of them began to be in Ashkenaz in Europe. But you're talking the earlier history when they were
For 1,000 years, 90% of the Jewish people, where were they?
So they were living where they lived before the advent of Islam. Yeah, they were
No.
living in the Middle
No.
East.
They
They were living in Spain. They were living
according
in
to
Morocco.
Bernard-
They were living
According to Bernard Lewis,
Babylon.
again a Jewish history.
Babylon. So 900.
Iraq, Yemen,
Yeah.
Egypt,
Yeah.
North Africa,
Yeah.
even India, Mughal India, and
Very few
post-Mughal
Mughal
India.
India,
Yeah,
but
very
yeah.
few, no doubt. Turkey. Okay, so Joseph is actually confirming that over 90%. I mean, according to Bernard Lewis, over 90% of the Jewish people for 1,000 years lived under the domain of Islam. Why? Why were they not escaping to Africa, for example?
That's not
You know,
true.
no. If they don't want to go to Christian Europe, I can understand,
not
because they were
true.
being let me
Okay,
finish.
sorry.
They were being accused of dicide. Dicide is killing of God. The Jews were persecuted heavily throughout Europe and European history for killing God, Jesus Christ. Okay, and
As
the
opposed
book
to just killing the
and the
prophets.
Talmud was burnt in public in the 13th century after the Fourth Lateran Council of 1215, and many examples. In fact, the reason why the Jews welcomed the Muslim forces as liberators was the Fourth Council of Toledo. The Fourth Council of Toledo, which was held in 633, 633, a year after the Prophet of Islam's death. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, died in 632. 633, there was a Catholic council held in Toledo, in the city of Toledo in Spain, where it was decreed by the Catholic Church that all the Jewish people have to give away their children to the Catholic Church to be raised as Catholics. So the Jewish children were forcefully converted into Christianity. When the Muslims came in 711, literally, let's say, almost 80 years after this incident, the Jews welcomed them as liberators, according to Zion Zohar, another Jewish historian, right? So all of this put together, we see that the Jewish people were happy under Muslim rule. How do we know that? By looking at their testimonies, which I have already quoted earlier, from place to place, person to person. Jewish rabbis are saying, we are happy, we are pleased, our living standards are even better than theirs, the Muslims.
I've got to go in like 2 minutes. Just the question of
which
why
was
the Jews flee.
after. Now, why did the Jewish people leave the Muslim lands? The doing of Israel. Because what happened was, when the Zionists took over after the British Mandate, they took over the land of Palestine and they conducted massacres of innocent Palestinians. There was a backlash. You know what brothers like Joseph failed to understand, or possibly deliberately failed to acknowledge, is the political milieu, the political situation of the Middle East at the time. Okay, Muslim didn't suddenly wake up one day and say, okay, hold on a second, we're going to go for all the Jews now. No, it doesn't work like that. They had 1,000 years to do it. They had 1,000 years to do it when they had armies like Mamelukes, the Ottomans. You know what the Ottomans were? Do you know their military strength? You know what they had? You have no idea. They besieged Vienna, thousands of miles away from Constantinople. You're telling me they couldn't see the Jews at home, right at the doorstep? They could see them, right? What happened in 1940s is the question. Why suddenly all the Jewish people started to leave Muslim lands? Because they were blaming the Zionists, like Orthodox Jews from Stamford Hill and Golders Green today are daily and nightly condemning the Zionists for doing things in their name which they completely disown. And we cherish these Jewish brothers and sisters, who are great people, who are simply disowning the Zionists like we the Muslims disown ISIS, right? ISIS equals Zionists, okay? And speaking against the atrocities of the Zionists against the Palestinian people is not anti-Semitism, because there are I have Jewish friends, they are not Zionists, and they condemn all the atrocities against the Palestinian people, right? So this is what happened in the 1940s.
Okay.
A context, a historic context which is not acknowledged. So why did they suddenly wake up? So this is what happened. That's why many of these Jewish people started to leave Muslim lands, because they could see what was happening in Palestine at the time is going to have an impact on their lives. So they started to leave for lands where they felt safe, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them, and they were doing what was best for them. And to this day, we have nothing but a feeling of sympathy, a feeling of love and compassion towards the Jewish people, despite all the atrocities in
this brother Gad.
So what's going on? How are you?
Thank you.
He
I'm
came
fine.
just to say how are you.
I'm
He's
fine.
Jew, by the way. How are you?
He's Jewish.
Okay. Yeah, he's Jewish, and he is anti-Israel. That's one of the things.
Oh, there you go. Thank
That's
you.
one of the
What a
interesting
timely, what a timely entry.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So he's got that.
As well, he is well learned about history. He's well learned about many things about
Right.
all
So
the
at least I don't look like.
I've
At least
literally got to go.
At least I
you
don't look.
said 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
I'm just going to make my closing.
Oh, wait.
closing
My
comments.
final statement, and then you can come in, Joseph. So, as I said, to emphasize the point, we have nothing but a feeling of sympathy, love, and compassion towards the Jewish people. In fact, the Constitution of Medina, the document agreed upon between the Prophet of Islam and the Jewish people of Medina, it states, the final sentence is that Muslims are commanded to extend a hand of sympathy towards the Jewish people, right? This is exactly what we believe in. We were never an enemy of the Jewish people. We will never be the enemy of the Jewish people. politics, circumstances, geopolitical events can change feelings from time to time, from place to place. That doesn't mean that Muslim civilization is anti-Semitic. It is not. It has never been so.
So
Thank you.
perfect. So,
And
so
back
there's some.
to-
Okay, no, let's just close off, Ali, and then you can jump
No,
in.
but why you didn't want them to speak a bit?
My wife rang me like an hour ago, told me I needed to go home.
So one thing that do you agree the development of the state was unnecessary? Was not only unnecessary, it was wrong.
So I'm going to answer the question, but I'm just going to make my closing points to this debate, and then I'll address that.
So, by the way, this is a Jewish brother against another Jewish brother.
Not
This Jewish
against him, I'm not
not
fighting.
against, not against. Sorry,
I
no,
don't
no.
agree to it.
Disagreeing with him. Disagreeing. Sorry, do apologize. Disagreeing with Joseph on the issue of Israel and the creation of Israel. Okay.
So Adnan mentioned that the reason there are no Jews left in the Middle East, the reason the Jews fled the Muslim world, 850,000 Jews ran for their life, was
Way
because
more,
of modern.
way more than 850,000.
No, 850,000
In the
from the Arab world.
1700s, over
Wait.
1 million Jews living in Turkey.
You're missing.
So do you think it was due to the creation of the state of Israel?
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Stop.
No, I think-
850,000 Jews fled the Arab world with the
When?
advent of Israel, 1948. That's what we're talking. That's
Why-
the reference
why-
point.
why is
This is the reference point.
why do you think that
You're
happened?
jumping
Why?
ahead.
Why?
So,
Why?
so this is what we're getting to. This
Right,
is
go
what
on,
we're
get
getting
there.
What do you think?
I tell you what happened because.
Stop. Can I make my point?
Very quick. Let him. You can make
Let
your
me
point.
make my point.
Yes.
Then you can listen to my
No,
point.
but I want to.
and then
I
you
want
can
to hear his
respond.
So make
perspective.
make
No,
your point.
So
Adnan,
that
Adnan, you don't control the debate. I listen to you respectfully.
Okay.
You listen to me respectfully. That's how it works.
Okay.
Okay,
You
make
don't
your
invite
point.
someone in.
And then let him make his point.
Okay,
Make your point.
please,
Make your point.
Make your point.
So, 850,000 Jews fled the Muslim world. As I mentioned before, there are now 3,000 Jews living in the Arab world, almost all of them in Morocco. There are more Jews in Bournemouth Synagogue than there are in the entire Arab world today. Now, Adnan's explanation for that was because of the advent of Israel, the state of Israel.
100%
Zionism. So I want to bring some examples.
This brother is saying it's 100% true.
And this, just like you have Muslims who have disagreements, you have Jews that have disagreements.
Okay.
That's fine. That's the beautiful of it,
So-
people.
so-
You
so-
don't all
so-
agree.
So I am not anti-Semitic, right?
I don't believe you're anti-Semitic.
thank
I've never
you.
said that at
Thank
all.
you
I
for
think it's
that.
the
Go
opposite.
on, give me some reasons for that. I'll tell you why.
So, what I'm going to do is give you an example of Muslim persecution throughout the ages.
Go on.
So, in 1066, as you rightfully identified, thousands of Jews were
So
slaughtered.
you're
in
gonna
Cordoba.
do a shot? No. Wait. Before you do.
I didn't interrupt you.
No,
Adnan.
Joseph,
Can I-
you cannot do machine gun tactics and run away. You're gonna stay here to hear my responses,
Give me
right?
the great.
But are you
these
gonna
our
stay-
closing comments?
No.
That's not closing
You-
That's
you-
not closing comment. You're
that's the
bringing
beginning.
facts.
So, guys, listen. Look what happens the minute I open my mouth. look how they respond.
Joseph.
No.
You're gonna do machine gun tactics. You're gonna throw things, and
Of
you're gonna
course there
run
was.
away.
Of course, can I just say something?
no.
I'm new to the debate. Can I say one thing? Of course, there was fights between the Muslims and the Jews, but there wasn't mass persecution.
Okay, so
when
stop
Herzl went
waggling
round,
your finger at me.
Okay,
Calm down.
When Herzl ran around saying he's going to take over the land of Israel, for irreligious purposes, when he said he'd do it, that's when the Jews in the Arab world started feeling nervous that the Arabs are going to resent this, and they did because.
So, can I just make my point? Can I make my point, and
Yeah.
then you can make your point?
Just interrupt me in the
And-
middle, but go on. Go
No,
on.
because you interrupted me.
Yeah.
I was reading out
No,
something, and then you
but
both
if you're
started.
about to read all these dates and chronologies,
That's
and if you
another
think
day.
if you think that they're gonna make your point stronger by putting.
By pointing out massacres of Jews in Muslim
But we have
land.
already acknowledged.
So
But
I
why,
want-
why
I
would
want
you
the-
do this machine gun
There was
tactic at
way
the end?
more massacres of Jews in
You
Christian
could have
land.
you could have
There
brought
was-
this earlier.
I agree.
Way more massacres of Jews
agree.
in Christian. There was never a Holocaust in Christian.
I agree.
In
But-
Muslim
but-
countries.
I agree.
Okay,
There was
can you?
never anything.
I agree.
There was
So
a
calm
few.
down.
There was a
Calm
few
down.
stated.
You've
Okay,
come here with
I think-
such
I
anger.
think-
No, I haven't.
That's
Actually
okay. Calm
worked
down,
that
Akhi.
out.
Calm down. Calm down.
So what?
can I, Adnan,
no,
Adnan, don't
This-
dictate. Let
this-
me make.
this-
See what's
but
happening.
My
He's
request
trying
is
to
you're gonna have
close down
to
the
stay.
debate.
My request is you're gonna have to stay.
Stay for your
Make your point. You're gonna stay to listen to my response.
But you'll do it quickly. I'll do mine quickly. I'll go through here machine gun style, like you say, and then you can do yours.
No, but
Yeah,
why?
no problem.
Why
No
would
problem,
you?
no
Okay.
problem.
Okay, this is ridiculous. I could have made my point already. So, 1146, basically the Almohads slaughtered Jews, as we both agreed.
have talked about it.
in Morocco.
Yes.
Yep. 1232, the Jews were slaughtered in Marrakesh. 1240 Jews, the Jews were slaughtered in Meknes. 1275, 40 Jews slaughtered in Fez.
Al-Mahad, all
Keep
Al-Mahad,
going, keep
all-
going.
listen,
all-
12,
no, no, no,
12,
all
12,
Al-Mahad.
Go on.
1290, Jews slaughtered, Baghdad slaughtered. 1465, the entire community
1240.
of
Keep
Fez,
going, keep
the
going.
Jews are community. 1492, Abd al-Karim al-Maghili
jumping centuries.
destroys it. Yeah, because I'm going through chronology.
Okay, so what
The
happened in
synagogues of
between?
1517, Ottomans rape and massacre the Jews of Hebron, as we established. 1736, the Jews of Algiers are massacred. 1776, the Jews of Basra in Iraq are massacred. 1785 in Tripoli, in Libya, hundreds of Jews who refused to convert to Islam are massacred. 1790, Sultan Yazid ordered the murder and rape of dozens of Jews in Tetuan, Morocco. 1805, Muslims massacre 500 Jews in the Algerian city of Algiers. 1815, Muslims burn 8 Jews at the state.
There's a machine gun.
18, no, I am, because I'm getting very far. 1828, the Jewish community of Baghdad in Iraq are massacred. 1830, the Jews of Algiers are massacred. 1830, the thirds of 400 Jews in Iran, in Tabriz, are cut. 1834, the Jews in half of the Israeli city of Safed, the Jews were raped, murdered and expelled. 1839, in Mashhad, Iran, 36 Jews were murdered and 7 young girls kidnapped.
No problem. Even one, no problem. Even one is bad.
So
Even one is bad.
Why
Okay, so
not?
you
Can
listen
I
to
finish?
Let him finish. He's done his
Finish my
He's
point.
done his
Let me-
machine gun.
Existence under Islam was all good is a fanatic. Anyone who tells you it's all bad is a fanatic.
But no one claiming that.
So what
one's
I'm
claiming
pointing out
that.
is
We're
long
claiming-
Adnan, let me speak. Long before the advent of Zionism, Jews were being persecuted in Muslim countries. Long before the advent of
Okay.
Zionism. So all I'm saying is Jewish persecution has been there from the inception. Now I absolutely admit there were Khulafa which treated the Jews
Can I
very well.
answer?
There were
Let me
Khulafa
respond
which
and you
treated
can
the
comment,
Jews
yeah.
very well. And
Okay.
Jews achieved...
My response is going to be very quick. Very
I
quickly.
don't-
Wait,
I don't-
wait,
Very quick.
very quickly. Let me respond to his points. Sheikh, wait. This. Okay. All of this machine gun tactic done by Joseph, deliberately right at the end before he's leaving, is again, it tells a lot. It says a lot about his approach to this topic. Very quickly, all of these things he mentioned, have you noticed that he jumped centuries?
Because they were
At
good times.
16 times in the past 1,000 years. Let me say something.
yeah.
16 times. You mentioned 16 instances.
I've got some instances, there's
in
many
the
more.
past
16, he was
1,000
counting
years.
actually.
Listen.
1,000 years.
Yes.
Yeah. The past 1,000 years from Jews all over the Muslim world. Now, do you know how many people were killed in 1066? You mentioned the battle in 1066.
Thousands.
Hundreds of thousands by the Crusaders, by fights everywhere. Life was worthless back in 1,000 years ago. You would be speaking about. No, you were very worked up when you were listening off all this is. You were very worked up when you were listening off this. You would be talking about, I'd whip out my knife and kill you back 1,000 years ago. Everyone was killing each other. The fact that Muslims killed Jews in 1066 doesn't mean anything. Many millions more Jews were killed by Christians in 1066 than Muslims. Many.
Are you from a Mizrahi
There's
background?
no
No, no, I'm from
My-
Ashkenazic background.
Doesn't matter where it's from.
My-
Are you anti-Semitic? Why are you asking him his background? Wait,
No.
What's the problem? Is that-
It's relevant.
is that a problem
I
with
assume
this?
you have lots of Mizrahi friends.
Can I quickly
No, I
respond?
don't know any Mizrahi people.
Can I?
whatsoever.
We will finish
So,
the
no,
discussion now.
Sorry. You don't know any
Anti-Semitic
Mizrahim
Wait,
at
wait,
all.
wait.
Of his family.
We will finish the discussion very quickly.
How can you not know any Mizrahim?
I know.
Are you like? I assume you're
What are you
Jewish.
saying?
Yes,
Is he blind?
yeah,
Is he
yeah.
blind now? Is he Muslim?
I know.
Is he a status
I know. I
The
know.
reason I ask is that every single Jewish school is full of Mizrahi
Not
Jews.
true.
Unless you went to
diverted,
Swedish
he's
school.
diverted.
No,
and
Tom
Samuel
Robinson,
Hill.
Tom Robinson tactic is diverted.
Which
I was a school.
Why do you
gator.
divert the topic?
Okay, so I'm a Georgian.
Let's take
I'm from County Durham.
Okay, wait. Can we?
I'm from Cape as well.
So
I'm just
Cape
gonna
said-
tell you-
I want to end on a positive note so that we don't look like enemies.
We're not enemies.
We are friends.
And we believe we should
had
be
a
in
very,
peace.
very good academic
But
discussion.
not as-
Thank you for this, brother,
Okay.
for his
there is a point- there
his
is a point-
contribution. His
there is a point
contribution.
about
Thank you to
Zionism.
Joseph for his
Listen,
contribution. I'm coming.
Adnan, there is a point about Zionism. Yeah, that's our point.
We-
That's our thing.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Closing.
Yeah,
I wanna close on a positive
Hold
note.
on a
Yes,
second. Just
yes.
before we close that. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the problem is, for example, when you said about all of these incidents, yeah, we'll say we condemn it. Simple. You say, do you have a problem? You have no problem to say that.
This
Hold
is
on a
what
second.
I was
Hold
going
on a
to
second.
Yeah.
But when you are supporting a country which is systematically a terrorist country, killing Muslims, killing people
daily basis.
on a daily basis, let alone it was established
Yeah.
by wiping cities, killing people, every single person in that city, women, children, every single man who was living
I
there.
have another
You see the
challenge.
point? When you are
I have-
supporting, hold on a second,
Yeah,
Adnan.
yeah.
When you are supporting that country, that indicates something else. For me, when you told, for example, when you say to me, do you support ISIS? I would say to you, no. If ISIS kills people, I'm against it. I'm against
Even
killing
if my father
innocent.
kills people, I
I'm
would say
against,
I
even if
disown
my
my
own father would soon do that.
Except your former
But
Muhammad sallallahu
hold
alayhi
it-
wa sallam
hold it a second.
killing the Jews.
Hold it a second. Hold it a second.
God.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you.
Tried to assassinate him
Okay.
3 times.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
There we
I'm
go.
sorry,
There it is.
I'm
There
sorry,
it
guys.
is.
You know
I'm gonna have to
Hold on a
come in
second.
now.
Hold on a
No.
second. Adnan.
In
Now
the
here.
history of the world,
I was-
Jews lived more peacefully under Muslim rule than Christian rule or any other
Nay,
rule.
nay.
No,
Muslim
any other rule, not secular rule, not in
No.
England today. We have a better standard of life. You have more freedom here than you would in any khilafah.
It can be.
Everyone, do you know something? The
Wait,
standard of life has gone up for everyone.
Everyone.
Not
Yes.
just the Jews.
Yes.
Exactly.
Even-
And
you know
have you been to
something?
Saudi
That's
Arabia?
not-
Have you
that's
been to
not so
Qatar?
true. No, they
weren't.
Have you
That's
have you
not
seen
so
how they
true.
live?
That's
Muhammad
not
Umar
Wait.
banned the
Wait.
Jews from
Wait.
Saudi
Wait.
Arabia. I can't
That's
go
not
there.
I wanna
true.
finish
That's not
now.
true.
I wanna
They
finish
want to
now.
ban Shahida. They want to ban Shahida. They want to
In
ban
Arabia,
Shahida.
the Jews are banned from Arabia.
Okay,
That's not
We
true.
can't
ladies
do
and
that.
gentlemen,
That's not
thank
true.
you very
Can
much
I
for
get
listening.
away from everything?
Okay,
Thank you very
I want to
much.
finish on a positive
This
note.
is a good
I
man.
want to
That's
finish
good man.
on a positive
Joseph,
note.
Joseph,
All the things.
You are
You're
misinforming people. That's
You're
not true.
misinformed. You're reading
Can a
facts
Jew
off
live
the
in Arabia?
internet.
Can a Jew live in Arabia, or did Umar ban the
Wait.
Jews from
Because
Arabia?
of-
What are they doing in Dubai?
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean,
What are you doing
I
in
mean the
Dubai?
peninsula of Arabia.
on
is
you.
What are
Arabia.
they doing in Jeddah?
Wait, this is
Hey, calm down.
This is not gonna
Buddy.
end.
I've
Let
got
me-
a video of you
The
guys.
point-
I've got a video of you guys
Joseph,
at Golders Green.
okay,
What
Can
are
you-
they doing?
can you- can you finish on
What
a
are they
positive note?
doing? You know, in
Can you
Kulsha,
finish?
in Sharqiya, in
Cross Tesco.
Okay, let's
Listen,
finish. Assalamu
in Saudi
alaikum,
Arabia.
everyone. Thank you very much for listening.
go.
Because this is not going to end. So the point
is
I was
the
going to
point.
make was, despite all this, I mean,
Yeah.
Joseph came up with this list, and our brother here, he counted 16 cases, and even if that's true,
Yeah.
because we would have to go and study every single case, how many people died, where they died, how they died, who killed
Which
who,
is ridiculous.
why, which
What
is
does Haram
wait,
write about?
Joseph. So
The Rambam was a
if we
friend,
okay,
a very
I
good
I
friend.
You had to give it to
I
man.
can do one second, brother.
Give it to man.
1 second,
enough.
Joseph. 1
Read
second.
it.
Okay. I
read
can
many
do
other
the
things.
same with what Israelis have done for the last 60 years with the Palestinians. I can make a list of all the massacres, and I can say, look
Sabra
at
and
these-
Shatila. Have you heard about that?
Yes,
It looks
Christians, Christians.
Sabra and Shatila, they were
Christians.
Okay, I think we will finish now. Thank you very much for listening. Nice talking
What
to
I
you.
would like to say.
Nice talking to
And
you.
I say one more thing.
Let God say last thing.
I think your intention is
Thank you.
sincere. I think you want peace
Thank you.
and good relations with
Yes,
Jews, and
we
we
do.
want them with
We
you
do.
as well.
We do. Absolutely.
And we may have a
Absolutely.
different view of history.
Our Muslim attitude.
No, there's only one view of history what happened, and you mentioned the Rambam. Do you know the Rambam was a massive physician? Yes, any doctor nowadays who Maimonides was, he'll tell
We
you of
talked
course it
about it.
was.
We talked
We've
about
already
it.
Do you
talked
know
about
who
it.
one of his biggest friends was?
Yes.
What was it? I forgot his name. He was a Muslim
Malik Abdul.
physician. He
Mal-
based his
Malik Abdul.
idea
He served under
on
Suleiman.
biology of the body at the time based on this guy's study.
With the greatest
No.
respect, I just read out Igeret Teman, where he writes to the Temani community, and he gives his real opinion of what it's like living under Islam, because he's addressing Jewish people.
Do you know he was
And-
a closest
No, so
friend and
just-
advisor to
No,
the Sultan?
I responded
He
to it
brought this,
because
he brought
Maimonides was actually persecuted by Al-Muwahidun. Al-Muhads,
Al-Muhads.
and he was writing about his experience.
I know,
which
I know.
wouldn't blame
No.
him. But he was a physician to the Sultan.
He was a
physician
advisor
to the king.
Sultan,
So
and the
how
Sultan
can he
liked
be
him. The
yes? So
Sultan liked him and
we
respected
discussed
him
all
as
these
correct.
things. I think that's enough.
And I just
and
want
we've
to end
shaken
off saying
hands.
this:
Yeah.
Jews
And we
have
should
lived,
end the discussion.
Jews,
Let's end
Jews
shalom,
in the
shalom.
history of the
I
world.
think I want
listen.
I want you
Listen.
both to talk next
Since
time.
the destruction of I say one thing. Since the destruction of the temple, Jews have been persecuted immensely.
I agree.
Now,
This we agree on.
yeah,
Calm
Jews-
down, calm down.
Okay.
Jews have been persecuted.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Assalamu
salam.
alaikum.
Adnan, listen to guys.
Jews
You
have
need
been
to finish this point.
persecuted since the destruction of the temple. Jews
Yes,
have been persecuted
yeah.
in many countries, but the countries that had the most peace in, on a whole, of course, the
I
minority
agree,
of incidents
Muslims.
are
I
Muslim
agree, I
countries.
agree.
Now,
This is what I'm saying, you're
there
coming
was
late to
never
the
a
debate.
Holocaust in Muslim
I
countries.
agree. You're coming late to the debate. All I'm
So
saying
you're
is
agreeing.
I-
You just read a list.
No,
Listen,
you said they were persecuting.
Listen to it.
30 people.
Just because
2
my
people
point
being
has
killed
my
by
point,
such a
Sheikh,
36 people.
Sheikh,
36.
Just let me respond. My point's very
You're
clear.
making a massacre
My-
out of 36 people,
my-
which is bad. I
my-
agree, which is bad. Even
my-
one is bad.
my
We
point-
believe-
But they condemn
Sheikh,
all the
Sheikh,
crimes
let
of
me
Zionist
finish.
country.
Let
Just
me
say it.
let me make my point, because you're all like barking like. Just
No,
listen.
we're not
barking.
barking. We're not
Well, we
barking.
can't say
We're
that's a
talking,
dog
we're
who
talking.
barks. We're not dogs, by the way.
Okay, you're all shouting. You're
We
shouting.
shout,
You're
okay,
shouting.
we're
at me.
shouting, yes.
We're all shouting. There's one of me, and there's like 20 of you. So just let me make my point very simply.
Okay.
So I think that the existence of Jews historically was better under Islam than Christendom. Christians, not all Christians, people like Kashmirs in Poland were very good to us. But as a
good
whole,
was it? Can you explain how good it was?
in the sense that they invited us, they allowed us to live in the city. They
Oh,
allowed.
until the next one, told
I agree.
Krishyanki, who killed them all.
I agree. I
For
agree.
like for 10 years it was peace.
You're shouting, but I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying under Islam
No,
we had
when-
it better. My point was
Well,
very
when you say
simple.
better, what is better? What does it constitute? can you
within
see? Can you
so-
show me a picture?
So
An image of better
a
life
better an image
under
of-
Islam.
So
Yeah.
in Christendom, you would have court Jews. Jews that finance the monarchy, Jews that reach great positions of power and influence, but then the
In
Christian,
in Christendom?
in
Where?
Christendom. So all
Where?
over Spain, most of the Jews. So I'll pull up. So
No.
most. So
Can you
here in London, you had what do you call him, Jacob of Lincoln. He was one of the
When was
richest
this?
men.
What period?
This would have been at the time of the. This would have been pre the first exposure, so probably the 10th century, 10th or 11th century. I don't know the exact date.
Okay.
So Jacob of Lincoln, he was the richest Jew in Europe. He lived in the UK, and when the Jews were initially kicked
You know
out of the UK,
how the
Can I
Jewish-
just finish my point?
how
Can
the
I fin-
Jewish people
can
lived
I
there?
just- can I
Do
just
you know
try-
how they lived there?
Can I just try and finish my point? Can I like literally? I'm agreeing with most of what you're saying.
But how did they live?
Can-
Even when he was rich.
I let you speak. I let you speak. Just let,
No,
all-
I
all-
want,
let you
I want
speak as
people to
well. They let
understand
you
the
speak
living
as well.
standards. How did the Jewish people, despite being rich, because they were giving money on interest, they were dealing in usury. The Jewish people mainly were, the main business was giving loans to the kings and dignitaries and nobles, and that's how they made a living. And in return, they were protected by the nobles, and the kings.
Yep.
And when that protection was lifted, even if it was not lifted, when they were giving this usury, how were the Jewish people living?
I agree. Not good.
How were they
not
living?
Good. Not good. I
Not
agree.
good, yeah?
Killed,
Even
they
the
burned
richest.
themselves down
How
in
were
the
the
tower.
richest
But
Jews? How
in
were the
York,
richest
they
Jews
burnt-
living in Islam?
So in York, so this is what I'm trying to say. In York, they burnt Jews at the stake. I don't know of any instances, but that's because I'm not a scholar.
No Holocaust.
Of Jews
No
being
Holocaust.
burnt at the stake under Islam.
There would be no
So my
Holocaust
point
in-
is,
under
My point
Islam.
is really, really simple.
There
My
was
point
never
is,
in the history. Jews
my
burning at
point
the stake.
is really simple. Under Islamic rule as a whole was better for Jews than Christian rule. Never disputed that. Said that consistently from the beginning. My point is, even though it was better, it wasn't perfect. There were massacres. There was persecution.
It was never perfect.
Jews paid
Imperfect
Jews
world.
paid the jizya to
The
be
world is
saghirun,
imperfect.
to be, you say subdued. I think humiliated is a better example.
I
Jews
think
were-
we're repeating the debate
Yeah,
now.
yeah, we are
Can we shake
repeating.
hands again? Shalom
Okay,
alaikum.
wa alaikum
Let's finish now.
alaikum
Salam
salam.
alaikum. Peace be on all. Thank you.
Sheikh, let's
Thank
do
you
it.
so much.